Hello and welcome to the Crazy Poultry Inc. podcast for week 3 of October. I'm your host, of course, Ian Gaio Loco Novak, and with me again, as usual, Mr. Nick Nickers Chicken.
Present.
So, we're now in week 3, and guess I have to say once again, I've picked up the slack this week.
Yeah. Long week for me, unfortunately, but these next 2 weeks I'm going to be pretty busy with horror stuff.
Yeah, because we got a big one coming out that we're anticipating next week, so hopefully it'll live up. So, I kind of went through a gambit because since the Colts this last week played on Thursday, this last week that passed played on Thursday, I felt Sunday was pretty open for me to just watch some stuff, so I watched 2 movies that day. So that kind of got me ahead of the ball, but other than that, any stuff for video game wise that was getting you through the week? Was it more Spider-Man or anything coming up?
I played a lot of Spider-Man. I almost got all the trophies. The only one I need to get is I need to complete all of the side crimes in each of the regions of New York, and that's going to take a little bit. But I have a feeling this is going to be my first platinum trophy in PlayStation, so I'm kind of excited about that. And then yesterday, I ended up getting Black Ops 4 because it came out yesterday. So I've been playing that a little bit and getting my feet wet.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'll be till I dip my foot in that. But, that's for our video game listeners out there. So, since I definitely have the gambit, I guess I'll just get going until I feel like talking about one that you watched. So I again kept with a little bit more obscure feeling and then some that are well known. The one that would be considered obscure, but it's also really highly regarded, is called Suspiria. And this is from 1977. And this is a definite 70s film. It has that edge quality back then. The director, I don't know if he did much other horror themed stuff than this. But this is about a woman that goes to Europe to join a ballet class, and apparently this, of course, ballet establishment has some spiritual elements. And it really just messes with you in your head. This is like a drug trip that you don't know what is going on really half the time or what is weird. And sometimes you kind of catch just what characters say off. It's just really hard to describe in words because this is actually not the best word base and storytelling that way through characters. This is a definite, just trippy cinematography, colorful film. This is probably one of the best cinematographies I've ever seen. The colors in this are really bright and just leap off the screen. The music is also a big thing in this. It's a lot like Halloween. It becomes like its own element. And it has more of a fantasy vibe with the music. I was getting a lot of Beauty and the Beast vibe with it. And one of the other reasons why I wanted to watch this is not only because it's been highly regarded on a lot of horror themed stuff, and it's actually in, I think, the top 500 films to see before you die. It's also getting a American remake. Coming out in a few weeks, actually, I believe. And not only does this now have me interested to see how this remake now interprets it, the remake is over an hour longer. Because this is only an hour and a half movie with way more visual and you just guessing what in the world is going on. So I'm just wondering if this hour is going to try to dive more into what the characters are with the script, or if there's just going to be even more long, just trippy looking stuff. There was especially one part that just made me go, Well, this definitely had an influence for this scene from Saw because it involved barbed wire, so that made me wonder. So yeah, I really don't know how much more I can really say because it's just mostly a lot of visual stuff and I don't want to ruin it. But I highly recommend you see Suspiria, and I can't wait to check out the sequel.
It's got a 92 on Rotten. And it says, the blood pours freely in Argento's classic Suspiria, a giallo horror as grandiose and glossy as it is gory.
And the only other thing I really know that, as far as who also plays in this film, is that the lead actress also played in the cult favorite Phantom of the Paradise, which my mom and uncle are pretty big fans of, but I have yet to sit down and watch it.
Oh, the guy from Puppet Master's in it.
Oh, from Puppet Master?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's cool. I mean, I've seen all
I mean,
Puppet Masters.
I recognized him because he's much younger, but
Yeah.
yikes. So yeah, that's how I started off with a really kind of indie feeling and just highly regarded film. And then I wanted to get a bit more Stephen King in me, and so I just decided to sit down and watch the new version of It, which is also one that we kind of went in depth. It's one of our earlier reviews on this channel, so if you want to see that, our initial thoughts, you can go and watch that. This is gonna be my now feelings after watching it a few times, and I still really like it. The things that I now have noticed that I feel a little bit differently is I can see that it's a little bit tone all over the place a lot, but I think that's the vibe they're also kind of going with because the book is also really weird. Or at least I've been told. I've not read it. And then the competition for, what clown you like more, which Pennywise, Bill, or Tim Curry. That is a gigantic toss-up to me because I think they just established that they can do something different that the other one can't. Bill does a lot of his own physical stunts and things, which gives him way more credit. But Tim Curry, to me, just kind of embraces more of the clown kind of vibe, and he's really funny. But without any doubt, as far as if I had to compare which version of it is better and feels more true to the story, it's definitely the new It. And all I can now say is that the second one has a lot to live up to because the second part is easily the part that a lot of people that are diehard fans of the book, diehard fans of the miniseries, is easily the just boringest part. And the thing that just has me hopeful is that they have a really good cast, and how much of Pennywise or whatever this entity is are they actually going to expose, and we're going to be able to follow because it's really strange and convoluted. So yeah, that's just how I feel about it now. It's still really good. Just has some tone issues, but I don't have much problem anywhere else. So, now again, moving on to my next one, which was a very highly anticipated film that was picked by Nick and Russell on their horror that they were anticipating this year, and that was Unsane, starring Claire Foy, which we just recently also saw her in something else. This is directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it was mostly, or actually all, shot on an iPhone. So that's already a different kind of vibe and feel. But it's about a young woman that basically enters a mental hospital, but but believes that she just signed something wrong and she's not supposed to be there. But she kind of keeps not really helping herself and getting herself more in trouble. So the one thing I'm going to definitely say is that if you have watched the trailer and you look at like the box cover or anything, it always has that vibe of, is she insane or is she sane? Without getting into spoilers, I don't really think that that's supposed to be actually what you go into this really, because it kind of goes a different way. I do think that it does have some strong performances, especially from Claire, who I think gives a really good part towards the end. The only other downsides that I'm going to give this is that, yeah, it was definitely ambitious for Steven to just shoot this on an iPhone, pretty much. But I don't know, it felt like it kind of started to just get in the way for me, because since you're shooting it on this digital phone, you kind of can't get great angles sometimes with the lighting. And it doesn't feel like a documentary style, like with the found footage, because it's not shaky. So that kind of also hinders it. And then, like I barely mentioned, the story just doesn't really go the way that a lot of people would feel. And I mean, that could work for you because it's going somewhere where you don't expect it. But I don't know, I felt kind of like it just wasn't really going to be what I thought it was. So that kind of was disappointing. They only kind of cut back to this part about her insanity in question towards the end. So, but that's all I'm going to say. I would at least recommend seeing it once to see how you feel about it, if you're definitely were intrigued by this. And if anything, I'll let Mr. Nick over here borrow it, and if he enjoys it a little bit more than I will, I say keep it, man. Less money you'll have to spend, and it's for a movie that I just don't know how I feel about it overall, if I want to keep it or not. So there you go, an early Halloween/Christmas present.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the ones I wanted to see. Like Ian said, it's got an 80 on Rotten. It says Unsane unleashes Steven Soderbergh's inner B-movie maestro, wading into timeless psychological thriller territory and giving it a high-tech filmmaking spin.
Well, if you're on board with the iPhone feel, then you'll be right at home.
I didn't know that. It's cool. Interesting.
And the only other thing I could say is about that is it also kind of leaves you wondering, like, is this like the possible future of movies, that they're just going to be shot on phones at some point?
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise me, but it'd be really disappointing to me, because we're going to kind of cut out IMAX in that form, because you can't do IMAX on a phone just yet. But then again, I don't have a lot of IMAX experience, so.
Well, hopefully it Chapter 2 next year, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping we can go see it in IMAX.
Well, we'll see if it's worth and able to do the trip for it, because it's not down here. So again, I then took another step back into the early 80s with my next pick.
84.
Mostly because of recommendation through Ice Nine Kills album with their inspired song Merry Xmas, and that was Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I currently actually own what is known as the 30-year anniversary edition. And so off the get-go, like, you push play and stuff, there's a little memo that comes up before the movie actually starts, and it says that this is like the official, like, unrated version, and in order to do this and add some more scenes to it, they then put stuff filming wise in here that quality control is gonna look different. Like, it's gonna kind of look a little grating, basically, when it happens. And it's a little jarring a lot because you're watching a pretty nice crisp Blu-ray 1080p, and then it'll just go to this grainy kind of, early 80s or whatever vibe that it feels like. I can't really think of the word right now. So this is about a kid that sees his mother and father get killed by a drunk Santa. Well, I don't think he was really drunk. He was just a bad Santa, and he wasn't the Billy Bob Thornton version.
I just remember he got. I remember seeing it. I remember he got raised by nuns.
Well, yeah, that's what then happens next.
Yeah.
So him and his baby brother get then taken to an orphanage that is run by Catholic nuns, and that's where they're primarily raised at. You're not going to hear me talk a lot about the brother because the brother's really not a part of this. So obviously because of this, he has trauma about Santa and Christmas around that time. Which then affects him and his brother getting adopted through, and then so on and so on. Years go by, and he gets a job working at a place down the future as like what was he, 18 years old at the time? Holy crap, you're in an orphanage and you're still 18. And of course, Christmas time rolls around, he stops being the A+ employee he was, and he starts to sound weird and stuff. And he then has to don the Santa Claus uniform at one point. And he kind of then goes nuts and starts killing people. And it just turns into a basic slasher film with a guy in a Santa outfit, which is honestly not the best kind of cover-up because you got bells that jingle. All I'm going to say about that. And I don't know how much I want to dive into this because, this is like over 30 years. This is like 30 years old, so.
And it's only an hour and 19 minutes.
Yeah, the unrated cut, however, adds another 20.
Okay, it makes it an hour and a half. It's still a short movie.
Mm-hmm. I just didn't feel like this was very engaging, especially when it got to the later years. Easily the best acting and the best storytelling is the very beginning with him as a young boy. But even there's a few plot holes and stuff that I kind of picked up on. And it's kind of mentioned sometimes in other films, the biggest one that I've heard as an example is Rob Zombie's Halloween, because it's Michael's in a nut house and he just becomes big all of a sudden. If you have a problem with that, you should have a problem with this, because why would he just be very muscular being raised by nuns?
Steroids.
Yeah, apparently those nuns have steroids. That's the conclusion.
You never know.
And there's just a gigantically just forced sequel bait that's put at the end of this, which there were sequels, as I did research. And apparently, they just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Which, who would have thought? So yeah, the fact that, the slasher genre has lost a lot of steam over the past few years, because of there's now the standard ones and, the iconic ones. This kind of, for the most part, just feels like somebody just trying to imitate them, so I don't really feel like it was its own thing. It had a couple of, edgy and stuff, murders and stuff, but again, those were the scenes that were then put in that became really grainy, and it was just kind of distracting when it turned into that. And they were even to scenes that didn't even need to be there, because it was just somebody or someone walking or singing a carol. Why did we need that? I don't know. So again, just like Unsane, if Mr. Knicker's Chicken has not seen this in a while and he wants to revisit it, feel free. You got a free copy right now.
It's got a 27 on Rotten.
Do slasher films
My
do that
God.
great on Rotten, though?
Very rare.
Yeah.
There are a couple, but yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that, but I do remember it, and I should have. I don't know why I got that wrong on Ice Nine's new album. I should have thought about it.
Easily Ice Nine's song is better than this movie.
Oh shit! I won't argue with you there.
Slashing through the snow.
It's freaking creeping the shit out of me.
But you know what? Maybe you'll watch it and you'll have a fine time. I'm sure that those grainy parts aren't going to look worse on your 4K TV. But you know what? Let's now diverge to a completely different feeling that I had, and that was when I finally got to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
One of my favorites.
Oh my gosh. Other than Sleepwalkers, this is probably the most fun and just overall great time I've had watching these movies.
I love Killer Clowns. Always have.
Oh, it's definitely one of the top B movies ever made. Because first of all, the clowns aren't scary at all. This is just hilarious practical stuff. Because even if this was CGI, oh my gosh, I wouldn't like it as much because you know that the clowns are there because it's real costumes. The set design is colorful and amazing for the clown spaceship. And just like any kind of good B movie or something around those lines, hilarious one-liners from people that just don't make sense. Character descriptions that are then thrown in there just out of nowhere, like, oh yeah, he's my ex and might have still feelings about, okay, you're just bringing this out of nowhere. And just the stuff that the clowns do to try to that do kill people, or at least put them in a comatose state, is just hilarious. Wrapped in cotton candy. Oh, and I recognized the guy that's supposed to be the big, mean cop in this. He plays the Dean from Animal House. And he basically just plays that part again. And it's hilarious then when a clown messes with him. Yeah, I had a ball with this. Story and that makes no sense. There's a few. There was, however, one part that just kind of had me going, okay, I'm with you on this B-type feel, but even that was kind of throwing a little too much, and that's when these two side characters in an ice cream truck. So first of all, they say probably one of the funniest things right before this. There's this giant, the big bad boss, if this was a game, clown, emerges. The rest of the team runs away. They say, get out of the ice cream truck, and they say, we can't. It's a rental. Okay, immediately I'm falling over laughing. And then this giant clown monster picks it up, throws it, and it explodes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Follows the rest of the movie.
Wait. Those characters come back. They say they survived because they got in the freezer.
Yes.
What? I don't think that's how it works, but okay. You set it up from the get-go what you're getting. If you have no problem watching nonsensical, stupid things that are just hilarious and they're kind of meant to look this bad, but you kind of have some appreciation because they're actually trying a little bit sometimes, I highly recommend Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now I can't wait to complete this collection, and I finally watch Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which I can't find with the life of me.
I remember vaguely. It's been a couple years since I've seen it, but I definitely. Is there a bike gang scene?
Yes.
I remember that
In
more
fact,
than any
that's
of it.
one of our friends' favorite part is when there's like a baby clown that goes up to it,
Yeah,
and he
I remember
and he
that.
destroys the clown's bike, and he knocks the biker's head off.
Yeah.
Oh gosh!
That's a part
With
that I
one
remember.
punch from a boxing glove, like just like on a prop to extend it.
Yeah, that's the part that I remember.
That was
retained the
hilarious.
most. It says Killer Clowns from Outer Space's title promises darkly goofy fun, and more often than not, the movie delivers. And it's got a 75 on Rotten.
See, even critics know when it's doing what it wants to do.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed it. It's scary that I had to have somebody introduce it to me that none of us actually like. So,
Who was that?
Eric Edwards.
Oh, well.
He provided one good thing in my life. There you go. 1988 too. Close.
Also, it also sets you up right from the get-go what this is because it has its own theme song.
I remember a lot of the music in it.
Oh yeah, the music is really nice. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
From beginning to end. Mm-hmm.
So since I got one more, I guess we can kind of talk about, or you could talk about, because I've not seen what you actually watched this past week, and what was that?
Well, so I mentioned Bloodfest last week, and I didn't know. I read the synopsis on it, and I was like, okay, well, this might be interesting. And it was $5, so I thought I'd give it a try. Basically, it's these three friends. They are horror fans, huge horror fans, I should say.
Okay.
And they get tickets and wristbands, which are, I guess, their passes, like to get to the front of the lines.
This is already sounding familiar.
Yeah, for Bloodfest. So, the main kid's father does not want him to go to this Bloodfest.
Of course.
And he cuts the wristband and the ticket. And he's like, oh shit, so I can't go. So he calls the fourth person that's in the movie, another chick. And she's obviously some kind of a movie star. And she gets him hooked up with the director of the movie she was in. And the director gets them into Bloodfest.
Do they ever say what movie that she's in?
Yeah, it was something weird. I can't remember what it was called.
I just want to know if they just said, she's an actress.
She was I think they called her Titty Girl 3. So I evidently there was more. Or it was something girl number 3, and she wanted to be something girl number 2.
So she was an extra.
Yeah, basically. And then the director obviously thought she was hot and hooked up with her. Anyways,
Okay.
so they get in there, and it seems like a normal thing going, and then they get to the stage, and then the presenter guy comes out in the top hat and looks kind of creepy, kind of funny though, and says, welcome to Bloodfest, and brings out this. I want to say it's a new villain, kind of like a slasher person.
So, but the one question I just had did they have any idea as far as what this Bloodfest was supposed to be?
I mean, I guess they had been wanting to go to it. I guess they knew.
Did they know that? Did they know that it was like a horror kind of convention?
They knew it was horror, but I'm not sure they knew exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Okay.
So he comes out, brings out this slasher. I think he called him Red, and he had like a kind of fucked up face actually. And it's like, okay, it's just a regular person. Brings these two chicks on stage, and it's like the volunteer, and it's like, oh, they're gonna kill him, it's gonna be fake, and the person ends up killing them, and they're like, okay, is that real or is it fake?
Again, this is sounding familiar.
Yeah, and then, so he tells them, the chainsaw guys that are in front of him, to turn the chainsaws on, and they fucking start cutting everybody up, and the guy's like, oh, this shit's fake, and the guy comes up to him and hits him in the stomach and goes up, but it looked so bad. I was like, oh my god. basically, it goes on from there. Don't know why any of you want to watch it, but I'm not going to ruin the rest of it. But I will say, you could tell it's not even it's like a C movie. And they had a hardcore budget, and you could barely understand half the dialogue because it was so quiet. And maybe one of the two kills were pretty good, but other than that, I didn't retain much from it. It's got a 62 on Rotten. I mean, it was... I don't know, I feel like it wasn't the worst movie I've seen, but it definitely was subpar, and I don't even know what else to say. I did have the kid from Spider-Man, Ned, his Asian buddy in Spider-Man.
Homecoming?
Yeah, his Asian buddy?
Yeah.
He was in it. He was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in it. His name was Krill. So he was one of them. He was one of the three.
Oh, he's just a little off of Krillin.
He was, yeah. Maybe they got it from that, but
Any of our
they kind of made him look like
fans.
Kind of made him look like him because he had shaved his head and everything. Literally, I'm not kidding. There's literally a picture of him at the top of that.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah. I mean, it's your typical movie. They basically the only cool part I thought of the whole movie was that they went through each of the big horror slashers and, put it out there that if these kids could get through it and if they had enough knowledge to get through it, then they could survive, basically. So I thought that was pretty cool. But
so basically it's like...
you either know shit about horror or you don't survive.
Okay, so basically this sounds like a combination of Hellfest... And,
it's actually better than Hellfest. That's the scary thing.
And Hostel.
Yeah.
Because you're literally just signing up to try to survive something.
Which I'm sure they'd known that. They probably wouldn't have gone
Which this also sounds like something similar to what our buddy Damon was talking to me about, which is called The Hunt, where the actors actually can touch and do weird shit with you. But this didn't have like did this have like a gory kind of effect like a B movie where the blood was just flowing and stuff?
Well, yeah, for example, like one of the chicks got, I don't know what happened to her actually, but she was over here going, and you saw just these 3-4 blood squirts, and I was like, holy shit, you could see the blood packs.
You literally could see the blood
I mean,
packs.
not, you couldn't, but they were like protruding, and you could see, it was... But, I don't know, there was a couple of parts, but I know, like I said, it wasn't the worst horror movie I've ever seen. Would I recommend it? Maybe to see it once.
But I'm also getting the feeling that none of these characters are memorable.
Not really. The main kid's father didn't want him to go, and he was like, I told you so.
Which, again, to me, this is just sounding like Hellfest, but bloodier.
Yeah, it was better than Hellfest. That's sad.
Oh. I don't know. I don't know if that's much a great recommendation for me to watch it.
I'm just, I watched it once and it was $5, so it's not going to kill me.
Are you ever going to watch it again?
If I might watch it with Russ because I know he's probably going to want to go over and watch it.
He might, and knowing him, he might want it.
He might be. Yeah, you could have it if you want it. I'm trying to think what I'd give it. Probably a solid D-. That's solid.
Did you say solid?
I said solid.
D-?
Yes.
There's nothing good about a D-.
I know. Hey, it's not an F. Like I said, it had a couple of things here and there. But yeah, it was worse than, because a lot of the sci-fis are pretty bad. It was worse than a lot of the sci-fis, but it was along the line of some of them as well. And I don't know what else to say other than, yeah, Bloodfest.
Okay. So then to close out my week, I actually watched today. I had actually never seen this. And that's saying a lot for me. And that's The Others.
She's hot.
With Nicole Kidman. And again, this kind of falls under for me, I actually knew what the actual twist was before I watched this because it was ruined by a lot of things that I would watch as far as spoilers. So I just was I was kind of hoping it was going to be a lot like The Sixth Sense when I finally watched it and I knew what the twist was, because then I just had actually a greater feeling for it because I picked up on how they were covering the twist well. So this has Nicole Kidman, who lives in a house, and weird stuff happened with her kids and family, and they have a very interesting situation about the kids. So, just to say this out on here, spoiler alert, much like The Sixth Sense, but in a little bit of a different way, the family, including Nicole Kidman, are actually all dead. And they've been haunting the house, actually. And all the disturbances, and whenever they're talked about the intruders around, were, new people looking at the house to buy and stuff. So that's why they were acting the way they were, the sounds they were hearing. Other than that, I would say some positives about this. I think Nicole Kidman was really good in it. She definitely had me more concerned about the kids and how they're raised, because she raises them really, really Catholic. So that gave me kind of like a Carrie vibe, only not as dark as Carrie. Also had some good gothic vibes, because it was always since they had to keep the curtains shut, it had a lot of dark elements like that. The kids were on and off for me. I thought the girl had a little bit more strong performances. The boy was kind of either annoying or kind of good.
You sexist pig. I'm kidding.
I did not know this until I started watching it, and the credits were rolling. Apparently Tom Cruise was a producer on here. And they were together at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And here, the detractors are a little bit unlike The Sixth Sense, where I knew what the twist was, but I just watched how they did a good job at hiding it. This felt more like a drag at some points, and I don't know if they really did a great job at covering it up as well as The Sixth Sense did, and I kind of think that lends it to be less watchable too. So I honestly don't know how much longer I actually might want to keep this, even though I think it has a really strong performance from Nicole Kidman, and it has some good gothic vibes, but yeah, it's not a terribly long movie too, but
Hour 41. Came out before I was in high school.
Huh?
I remember seeing it, and I think I watched it on TV, though. It probably wasn't as good of an experience. It's got an 83 on Rotten.
Have you ever watched it since then?
I probably have. 17 years old, so I probably saw it twice. I probably saw it on TV, and then at some point, sometime else, maybe on Stars or something. But it's got a really high Rotten score.
Well, I kind of figured it did, because it has the classic gothic vibe, and Nicole Kidman is really strong in it.
And it says The Others is a spooky thriller that reminds us that a movie doesn't need expensive special effects to be creepy.
Well, no. It's got the Conjuring kind of vibe with even less special effects. But I think that Conjuring is a little bit more of a better film and more rewatchable.
I won't argue with you there.
So yeah, and since I kind of went through these by saying would I watch them again or not, I didn't necessarily give them a grade, and you boys want a grade. I'm gonna give Suspiria an A minus, just because some of the acting is also kind of questionable at some points. The new It, gonna give also probably an A minus. Unsane, I'm gonna give it a B. It's not bad, but it's totally up to your tastes and what you can get through it. Killer Clowns, I'm giving that I'm giving that 2 grades. As a film, it's a D+. But as a B movie that's supposed to be this weird and stupid, I'm giving that an A. So I'm going to be in the middle and say B+. Silent Night, Deadly Night, I'm going to give that a D+. And the others, I'm going to give it not quite a plus, but I'm going to still give it a high B. Just because of the question. It's a big question of rewatchability for me. And that's a pretty big factor for me.
Hell, you rated all yours higher than I did mine. Shit.
Yeah. So, hopefully this next week you'll pick up the slack.
Guess what? I've won a couple of football bets the past couple weeks, and that made up for the $5 that I spent on that movie. So, I'm good.
So yeah, guys, that's been week 3. Still been enjoying this. Still trying every day to watch something, or if I somehow get in 2 a day, I feel like I have a free day that I can watch whatever. And then a side plug I'll throw in, kind of in my spare time, I've been rewatching the now done show Gravity Falls that was on Disney. Also has kind of a Halloween vibe to it, and I would strongly recommend. I think it's a really, really good show.
Seen it. I guess I've been watching the new season of American Horror Story. I guess it's definitely horror vibe. So I would recommend that heavily.
Has horror in the title.
Yeah, I'm just saying, people see it and then they think of something else, but this is like the 6th or 7th season, and each season is pretty much different. But I would recommend American Horror Story as a whole.
Yeah, I still have to finish the first and try to move on from others. But I don't know. Since every season is different, I can maybe just jump around.
Yeah.
But there's too much stuff on TV.
So yeah, guys, I hope you've been enjoying this series this month. I know I have been, because I've been rewatching and watching some stuff I've not seen that have been increasing technically my horror collection. You can find me at GaioLoco89 on Twitter, Ian Novak Facebook, and Crazy Rooster 89 on Stardust. Mr. Nick, what would you like to plug?
I'm going to plug myself, obviously, but I'm going to say like I said, I'll pick up the slack the next 2 weeks. I've been doing a lot of things gaming-wise, going to various establishments. I'm not going to say which, but...
And you're going to a haunted house tonight, aren't you?
I am. Not going to say where I'm going, but...
Because you don't want the screwies to find you.
No copywriting it around his bitch. But anyways, I will let you know how that goes, and then...
Because also going to put that out there, the haunted houses aren't really my thing anymore, but that's just me.
Oh, I love them. We try to go to a different one every year. I think we're going to go to that 5-story one up in Indy here in a couple weeks, so that should be fun. We'll see if I survive that. But anyways, you can find me, Nick Wood, on Facebook, Nickers_Chicken87 on Twitter. No, that's Instagram. Instagirl. Nickers Chicken on Twitter. There's too damn many social medias. That's probably about it. And like I said, I'm going to pick up the slack. And next week's going to be interesting because we got Halloween. On Friday.
The highly regarded right now and highly anticipated Halloween.
And it's got a early 86 on Rotten, which is damn good.
Okay. Well, until then, keep going to the movies and see you guys next time.
Peace.